Visit safercar.gov/therightseat. That's safercar.gov/therightseat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird, too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Kids have the craziest ideas about food. Where do they get this stuff? Like eating Brussels sprouts helps you hit home runs. And eating carrots gives you X-ray vision. It's nuts. And I honestly have no idea where my daughter got this notion that broccoli is the official food of professional ballerinas. Kids, the only reason my 4-year-old loves cantaloupe is because he's convinced it comes from the moon.
One small step for man, lots of potassium for mankind.
And the other day when my oldest came up to me and said, Mom, will eating peas and carrots really help me pull off a fakey frontside ollie with a twist? I look him in the eye and say, it can't hurt, honey. It can't hurt.
Moms everywhere are finding creative ways to help their kids eat 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. Listen for Invite Health with Jerry Hickey and Amanda Williams. Weekday mornings at 9. WNN. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll develop a foot ulcer that can lead to severe health consequences, including amputation. At the Sole Authority, at little or no cost, you can receive your very own therapeutic shoes and custom inserts. Medicare recipients are entitled to 1 pair of quality diabetic shoes and 3 custom inserts. Call the Sole Authority today, 954-597-7060.
The following message is sponsored by the Florida Department of Elder Affairs, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Have you ever given your Social Security number to someone without knowing why they need it? Has your Medicare card been stolen? If you think you've been a victim of Medicare fraud, contact the SHINE Senior Medicare Patrol Program. They empower seniors to prevent Medicare fraud and can help if you've been a victim. To speak to a SHINE counselor, call 1-800-963-5337 or go to floridashine.org.
Gallbladder problems, gingivitis, a bad back, indigestion, fatigue, low libido, not sleeping well, need to lose weight. Just some of the topics you'll hear about. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Martin. Join me Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
Talk here. Talk there. Talk 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Schub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Show. I'm your host, Dan Schub, and tonight, like we always do, we are going to talk some golf. We're going to talk some travel, and we got a lot to talk about, I suppose. First off, we always kick it off. I got some deals for you later in the show, too, a whole bunch of them, as a matter of fact. The travel, the bargains that are out there are just unprecedented, and week after week, I can't believe some of the things I find myself. It just keeps getting less and less expensive to go away, and I do all the research, so you don't have to. So I'll give you some really good places to go on the cheap a little bit later on in the show. We always like to start off talking a little bit of golf, though, first. And before we talk about the tours, just wanted to mention that I had a chance to play this past weekend, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it on last Friday's show. But my home course, I look at it all the time, but I don't get to play it. I haven't played it in a few years, and my nephew was in town from Houston, so I took him out to play. He likes to play golf. He plays on his high school team. And we went out and played Hammock Creek, which is a Jack Nicklaus design in Palm City. So for those of you local to down here in the further southern reaches of Florida, that's up in Martin County. And I am happy to say that after not playing for a couple of years, the course is still in beautiful shape. The greens were rolling wonderfully. The lakes were down a little bit. It's been kind of dry here, which I guess is good for us who want to go out and play. The good news is, of course, in the afternoon you could go out and play, and it's discounted, and you don't have to worry about rain of late. I don't know how much longer we could say that. But I went out there, I think I teed off at 2:30. It was $40. It went down to $35 like an hour later at 3:30, and they had a sizable discount for my nephew as a junior. So if any of you are looking to expand your golfing horizons and head up north to Martin County, I can wholeheartedly recommend Hammock Creek as a nice course that's open to the public at a reasonable price, yet championship caliber. Speaking of championship caliber, why don't we change gears and talk a little bit about the tours. Just briefly last week, congratulations to Kevin Na, who won by 4 strokes at the Colonial, and congratulations to him. Also, congratulations to his caddy, because before the event started, Kevin was with his caddy, and his caddy was admiring a car that was going to be part of the prize for the winner. It was an older car, a 1973 car, as a matter of fact, and Kevin told his caddy that, sure enough, if he wins, that he'll let the caddy have the car. Well, Mr. Na goes ahead to win the event, and didn't realize that this old Dodge 1973 Challenger was worth quite a bit of money. I mean, it was in perfect condition and a collectible. And needless to say, his caddy was quite pleased that he walked away with the 1973 blue Dodge Challenger. But Kevin, a little sad, though. In listening to him talk, he had mentioned that, unfortunately, in his mind, there's only like 4 or 5 events during the course of the entire year that he has a chance to win, because he doesn't hit the ball as long as some of the other studs that are out there on the PGA Tour. So this is one of them, and it just, I don't know, it was just kind of sad. Also, on the LPGA Tour, first-time winner, congratulations to Bronte Law from England, and she won by 2 strokes at the Pure Silk Championship in Williamsburg. And we did have a major last week on the Champions Tour, the Senior PGA Championship up in Pittsford, New York, the Rochester area, was won by Ken Tanagawa, and congratulations to him as well. Now, this week started out with a lot of talk about our local hometown favorite resident, of course, none other than Mr. Tiger Woods, because last weekend he was out in Las Vegas with his annual Tiger Jam at the MGM, and I saw some pictures. He played some poker and lost to Russell Westbrook. Also, he auctions off typically every year an opportunity to caddy for him. And last year it went for $50,000. This year, $75,000. So, and of course, all the money that gets raised goes to Tiger's Foundation, which is for typically educational purposes for children. So congratulations to him on that. Also in the Pro-Am, I know he this past week at the Pro-Am, He played with, who did he play with? He played with Peyton Manning. And I know that there was a lot of trash talk there. That was, of course, the memorial out in Ohio, Jack's place. And I guess they had a lot of fun, I suppose. But Tiger, in the meantime, has finally got back into the top 5 in the world golf rankings. So it was a very, very quick move from way, way, way down on the list to the top 5. So congratulations to Tiger for that. And let's see. Also, well, like I said, this week, of course, they were playing the Memorial. And let's see if we can get you the current information on who's in the lead. Now, of course, I always like to say or apologize to the folks that tune into this show when we rebroadcast on Sundays at 6 p.m. on our sister station, WSBR 740 AM, 96.9 FM, and 103.9 FM. Of course, you can also stream that at WSBRradio.com, or you can get the free app for WSBR, or you could go to iHeartRadio, which is also free, and get WSBR. But for those folks, you'll already know what the finish was, so whatever I say today is certainly going to sound pretty silly, so I do apologize for that. But it seems that right now the leaders, there's a three-way tie, it looks like, up at the top of the leaderboard between Troy Merritt and Kyung-Hoon Lee and Martin Keimer at -9. Have not seen Martin Keimer up there. A couple of years back, he was on fire, and then he's kind of faded away a little bit, but he's back again. But more importantly, the guy who's back, who's been back consistently for the past couple of weeks now, also a guy who was just incredible for a period of time, and then kind of, I wouldn't say faded away, but fell back a little bit. I'm talking about, of course, Jordan Spieth. So he's just one stroke back at -8. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll be tuned in all weekend, of course. Also, on the Champions Tour, we've, let's see, the Principal Charity Classic is being played, and that is in Des Moines, Iowa. And another guy who's been kind of hot on that tour, right up there at the top of the leaderboard for the past couple of weeks, and he's in the lead by 2 strokes at -9, is Scott Perel. And right behind him at -7 is a guy who I haven't heard too much. I had a chance to spend some time with him a year or two ago, perhaps, at the PJ Merchandise Show. I'm talking about Chris DeMarco. So also just a couple of strokes back at -5, Darren Clark, who's been really on fire lately too. So we'll see how that turns out. And we do have another major this weekend on the women's tour. And this is the U.S. Open, which, of course, is conducted by the USGA. So you'll be looking for that on FS1 and on Fox this weekend, so there'll be plenty of coverage. Jessica Korda is tied for the lead right now at -5 with Mamiko Higa. But what's more interesting is who's in second at -4, Gina Kim, who is an amateur. So one stroke off the lead, we've got an amateur. And also interesting, tied for 4th, local Boca Raton resident J. Marie Green. And that could be pretty cool for her as well. So always nice to see when some Boca local folks are up there at the top of the leaderboard. Also, some interesting news we've got coming up not too far in the distance. On June 10th is the induction ceremony for the World Golf Hall of Fame, which is going to take place on the Monday before the U.S. Open, which is going to be out at Pebble Beach. So some of the folks that are going to be inducted, let's see who's going to be inducted. Well, there's a lot of people that are going to be inducted, but the people that are going to be doing here we go. Let's see, Dennis Walters, who I've met on many occasions. Of course, he was a pro golfer who had a tragic accident, went on to be the preeminent trick show exhibition player playing at hundreds and hundreds of events around the country for years now. Also, Retief Goosen, Billy Payne, of course, from Augusta, Jan Stevenson as well, and the late Peggy Kirk Bell are all going to be inducted, and folks such as Jack and Barbara Nicholas, Gary Player, current Augusta chairman Fred Ridley, and actress Jane Seymour are going to be doing the honors of inducting everybody. So that should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Also, this week coming up on June 4th is Women's Golf Day. And across the street from me, the folks at PGA National Resort are going to be celebrating only the first 50 people. They're going to be having a clinic from 9:30 in the morning to 10:30 in the morning over there. Let's see, their PGA golf professional Randy Raimondi is going to be doing the clinic, but there's also going to be free 9 holes of golf on the Fazio golf course. That you do need to sign up for this, though, so you might want to just probably what I would do is Google PGA National Resort and Spa, and they've got information there on their website. You can sign up for this event. All right, what we are going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then I've got some travel news for you all. So we're going to change gears, but stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the Golf and Travel Show.
I'm not smart enough. My resume's not up to date. They'll never pick someone like me. No one's hiring right now. Sound familiar? Don't let you get in the way of landing your next job opportunity. Sometimes it's best to leave it up to the experts. Did you know that the last reported job openings in the U.S. as of this recording was a series high of 6.7 million jobs, and that 1.1 million of those jobs were left unfilled? This means that there's a potential opportunity that's just right for you. And at Labor Finders, we're committed to helping you find it. Whether you're entering the workforce or looking for supplemental income in a job that starts right away, we got you covered. With over 300,000 clients across the U.S. and 20,000 active daily workers, we have the network and the experience to get you your next job. Contact one of our nearly 200 offices today to see how we can help in your job search. Simply visit us online at www.laborfinders.com or connect with us on social media by searching the username Labor Finders.
And we are back. And last week, our friends, or my friends at WalletHub, WalletHub.com, provided me with a list of the top and the best and the worst cities for basketball in the U.S. in honor of the playoffs for basketball. And this week, they did the same for hockey. So I thought I would share that, although this time they gave me a list of the top 20 cities. They didn't give me the top 10 and the worst 10. So, but again, interesting, I thought, as well. So, of course, with the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins facing off in the Stanley Cup Finals, which I have been watching, overtime the other night was pretty cool. There's nothing better than sudden death overtime. No shootouts possible. Very exciting to watch. I enjoy it. So here you go, the top 20 cities for hockey fans, counting down from number 20, Raleigh, North Carolina. Los Angeles comes in at number 19, Dallas at 18, Glendale or Phoenix, Arizona, 17. Sunrise, Florida comes in at number 16. That's a little surprising, I suppose. Our team down here has not fared all that well, and their support is up and down, I suppose. I enjoy watching the Panthers play. Number 15, thought that this might be a little higher up, perhaps St. Paul, Minnesota, which I'm assuming that includes Minneapolis, as well. Coming in at 14, I thought this would also be higher. Philadelphia, the Broad Street Bullies. That's a great hockey town, Philadelphia. 13, San Jose, California. 12 is Denver. 11 is St. Louis. And now for the top 10. Washington, D.C., I guess that's not too surprising. Tampa comes in at number 9. Not surprising either. That tremendous amount of success with their hockey team. Number 8, Buffalo. 7, Anaheim, those mighty Ducks. Number 6 is Newark, New Jersey. Number 5, New York, home of the Rangers. And maybe the Islanders, I don't know. I guess they're Brooklyn, New York now. I guess they didn't make the top 20. That's my team. Number 4, Chicago, Illinois. No surprise. I've been out in Chicago during playoff time, and they go crazy out there. Number 3, Pittsburgh. Number 2, Detroit. I think the fact that Detroit made number 2 on any list is very admirable for Detroit. And number 1 city for hockey fans in the United States is Boston, home of the Boston Bruins. And just as an FYI, last year, the price of tickets to get, I guess it's the average price for the Stanley Cup Final, was the most expensive ever recorded at $1,983. So be curious to know if it was higher this year. So hopefully those folks over, those crazy folks at WalletHub.com, perhaps they'll follow up with that. As you know, I follow politics quite closely, but I try not to talk too much about politics on the show, although politics definitely affects travel and tourism and golf as well. Usually politics do more harm than good, and lately there's been a lot of talk with this trade war with China. And the implications, of course, short-term or long-term, usually it's the people here in the United States that are going to bear the brunt of it. It's not the Chinese, because when we put a tariff on a product, it basically gets passed on to the consumer. Not to mention the fact, of course, folks like our farmers, whether it's for citrus, whatever it is that we sell a lot of that to China, and that maintains the prices at a higher level. We just start taking customers away who retaliate and don't want to buy our products. It causes some issues. But, of course, tourism and travel are affected as well. And the Chinese government right now is none too pleased with the United States government, and they are retaliating in many different ways. And similar to weapons that our government has used, for instance, with Cuba, when they were saying it was unsafe to travel because a couple of diplomats seemed to have had some mysterious disease, which never affected any tourists. But the warnings that are placed by our government discourage people from traveling, which is then going to hurt the Cuban government. Well, the Chinese government has put out warnings that the United States is an unsafe place to travel to, that, crime is up, and there are other things that the Chinese folks need to be aware of when they come to the United States. And when the Chinese government says something, typically the people, let's face it, it's a communist dictatorship. So when they say something, that they control the media, and the people believe it. So tourism from China to the U.S. is falling. Last year, it fell 5.7%. Which is a significant amount. We're talking about it fell to 2.9 million visitors. So there's a huge number of less visitors that came, and, of course, spending of money in our country. So places like Florida that are dependent upon tourism dollars to survive for employment purposes, to keep our tax rates lower. Obviously we would rather have tourists pay for infrastructure and other things than us have to pay for it. Well, keep in mind that when our government decides to start wars and other countries retaliate, we're all going to feel the pinch. And the Chinese tourism has been huge because the Chinese economy, until recently, has been very, very strong. And folks over there are happy to travel, and they were happy to come to the United States and spend their money, and not so much anymore. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on. Another thing that I've been keeping an eye on, for better or worse, some of us love this and some of us don't, depends on which side of the tracks you're on. I'm talking about Brightline, soon to be Virgin. And the folks up where I live are not happy because the train comes by and it holds up traffic, but there's no stop anywhere near us. So we don't get any of the benefit. We just get the detriment. I've been reporting that there's now some talk about a station up north in possibly either Stewart or Fort Pierce. It's probably only going to be one, not both. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Of course, there's also talk about building a leg to Tampa, and they're working on finishing up, I suppose, the station and opening up Orlando. And then there's talk about possibly building a light rail to connect the Brightline from the Orlando airport to places like Disney. But now there's talk about building a station at the cruise port of Miami for Brightline. So this would be another leg. There's already existing tracks from the freight tracks that are there, so maybe it would just require some sprucing up perhaps. But for folks that listen and understand that there are some great deals on cruises that leave out of Miami, but it can be a bit of a pain in the neck to get down to Miami due to the traffic, not to mention the cost of parking down there. If you go on a cruise, say for a week, you got to pay to leave your car there for a week. So the option of being able to take Brightline and not have to worry about driving down there and not have to worry about paying to park your car for the entire time. Not to mention, we're going to be talking a little bit later about some longer cruises. Some people like to cruise for 20 or 21 days or as long as 120 days. Well, nobody wants to park their car in a garage for that long. So, I was talking about the negatives. Of course, there's the other negatives of, there's been many people that have been struck by Brightline. I suppose it's something that takes some getting used to. It moves quickly. It's relatively quiet. And people were used to, I suppose, not paying attention to listening for trains or paying attention to the lights and the arm that comes down to stop you from crossing the tracks. So hopefully over time, there'll be less fatalities associated with the Brightline as well. So a lot of positives, a couple of negatives. This is progress. We're going to see what happens with this, and we'll keep you informed. On the airlines, oftentimes I have some pretty lousy news about the airlines, and then sometimes I have some better news. And an airline that I'm going to be actually flying, I believe, just one way perhaps up to Atlanta next month. And, of course, their home base is Atlanta. I'm talking about Delta Airlines. And my experiences with Delta Airlines have been mostly positive. I don't have a problem. They're not my favorite, but they're certainly not, I don't dislike them either. But recently there was a story about, I guess, an employee that was retiring. And let's see, I guess he was a mail carrier is what it was. Okay, so he was a mail carrier, I suppose, in Georgia. And I suppose he put in a really, really long amount of time on the job, and Delta decided to reward the guy and gave him a free trip, his dream trip to Hawaii. So good PR, and let's see, he had 500 customers on his postal route in Marietta, Georgia, for 35 years. So he retired last week, and Delta, of course, with their home base being there, they wanted to do something special. So I just noticed that. And like I say, I'm very quick to talk about the things that are negative. And, when something really, really cool happens with an airline, I certainly don't want to be one to not mention it. Another thing that we've been talking about in the past with Carnival Cruise Lines, it seems that they ran into some trouble with the federal government, and they were penalized for pollution, not following the law when it comes to pollution. And to make matters worse, they were sentenced, and then they did not follow the terms of the sentence either. And the judge got really angry. And it seems, I believe, in the next couple of days, on June 3rd, their CEO, who, of course, is Mickey Arison, who's the owner of the Heat, Miami Heat, him and a couple of other of the top executives, including Arnold Donald and Stuart Subotnick, are going to be required to be in person at a hearing in front of the judge. Typically, folks of this magnitude, they get represented by their attorneys. And, the settlement that they agreed to required a $40 million fine, and they had to be supervised for 5 years that they were complying. And obviously, I guess $40 million is no big deal to a company the size of Carnival, which is kind of sad because it didn't change their behavior because they got caught dumping things like gray water into Alaska's Glacier Bay, dumping plastics illegally, falsifying records. They had a long